Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Chibi Noob.
I'm Envy Jitters.
I'm problem child number 1. Oh, I don't want to be problem child number 2. I'm Kozi.
Okay. Always fun to switch around your names at the last minutes and no one knows what's going on. I'm a fan. Speaking of not knowing what's going on, what is going on this week? It's the last live-action anime adaptation from America for our whatever is a much shorter version of whatever I just said tournament thing that we're doing right now. We still haven't come up with a name. We're great at branding, you know? So, we watched Alita Battle Angel this week. This is the most recent film adaptation of an anime in America. There have been other adaptations of anime in America that, you know, not necessarily a movie, something else. Maybe we'll talk about that at another point, but not today. Not today. Today's about Alita. Who's seen this before?
Nope.
We have. I would hope all of us have seen it at this point.
Well, I meant like before we were gonna watch this for the thing. Did you guys see it before?
Nope.
We did. We saw it in theaters.
Ah, okay. How was it the experience on the big screen? Because I feel like the majority of these other ones we did not watch them on the big screens.
Good. Very theatrical.
Solid. Okay, so this is James Cameron produced it, Robert Rodriguez directed it. It was acted by people and animated by a bunch of other people.
It sure was.
Yeah. Where do we want to start with this? The plot or overall impressions?
I do just have a general question for Cheebs.
Yes.
How did the eyes make you feel? Did you get used to them?
So it depended on the scene. Like, there were some shots where they weren't too weird looking. Like, if she was just sort of, like, standing there sometimes.
With her back
but when
to the
they
camera.
did a lot of, like, close-ups of her face, that was really weird. They also did it a lot during, like, the action sequences, which I don't think was really necessary. So, yeah. I mean, overall, I wasn't, like, too put off by it, but when they were getting, like, a little too big, and then her mouth was getting a little too big, and, like, her whole face was just looking a little uncanny valley, that was when I was like, no thanks.
I just remember going into it, that was like your big hang-up.
I mean, it's a visual thing that, like, you know, once I'm, like, settled in, like, I can overlook it, but, like, the previews did not help, because I think it looked worse in the previews for a lot of these.
I was still immensely put off by it.
Okay.
I think I got used to it after a fashion.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Like 20 minutes in, I forgot.
Took me a little longer than that, but okay.
Like, when we saw this in theaters, I didn't know anything about it. Cece wanted to see it. And, like, we started the movie, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But I forgot about it pretty quick, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay. Envy, your thoughts on Big Eyes?
I mean, honestly, I didn't mind it. Like, I knew going in, and I just kind of, at a certain point, I was just kind of, I didn't even, not that I didn't notice it, but it was just kind of like, yeah, they're big eyes, but I just kind of get used to it.
Actually kind of gave me a little bit of like Ready Player One vibes. Like I feel like a lot of their like
But there was
avatars
a reason
also...
for that.
Yeah, but it's also like everyone's like that in the game world, so it's like it's not like
Yeah,
doesn't
there was
stand out.
not much
But there's
reason.
a reason for her eyes to look like that, too.
Yeah.
She's a Martian.
Still,
I don't know if it's a good enough reason.
I don't know all the nuances of the overall lore of this world because I haven't like read the manga and that, but you know, we can get to that. So overall impressions, had a good time, bad time, what's up?
I liked it. I definitely think that some parts were better than others, and they definitely sequel baited for a movie that might never come out, but overall, I thought it was pretty good, pretty enjoyable.
Again, obviously I just don't have a thing for action movies, because I just was kind of like, I could have, you know, I I could have sat through it, sure, because obviously I already did, but would I actually sit down to, like, just watch it on my own? No.
We're going to have whole swaths of the list that you're just never going to see at a certain point.
Opinion will basically be the same throughout all of them. Like, I didn't really care one way or the other.
I can't remember, because it was like... I guess it wasn't that long ago. Like, did you enjoy Die Hard?
Me?
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. Again, I could have seen it or I could have not. Like, I didn't really care about it one way or the other.
Oh, every word is
Die
pain.
Hard.
Next.
But again, it's kind of like, it's an 80s action movie, so it's also not something I'm going to like.
Damn.
Because 80s action movies always come off very hokey to me.
Oh, man.
Die Hard's the least hokey of the 80s action movies. It's not like we made you watch Commando.
Yeah,
you know what?
We're
We're getting really off.
As someone who doesn't like 80s action movies, I feel like Die Hard was very palatable.
It kind of...
Again, I think my
it came out in the
palate's
1980s.
just not for action movies, I think.
That's fair.
I thought it came out in the 90s.
No, you're thinking of the sequels.
So many
I've never
sequels.
seen any of the sequels.
Die Hard 2 is kind of just a rehash of the first one, but in an airport, and Die Hard 3 is a lot more interesting, and Samuel L. Jackson there, and after that, I guess you could watch the fourth one, but he just turns into a superhero at that point, and it's not really stakes anymore. Don't watch the last one. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Back to the movie. Anyone else with other first impressions?
I was very surprised by how much they fit in. Like
plot-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like a very long movie, but I don't think the runtime was that excessive.
It was
like 2
about
hours?
2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of on the longer side compared to like some of the other movies that we've watched for this thing. I mean, I think most of them tend to come in around like maybe hour 30, hour 40 for the most part.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think. Was this the longest one? I don't think this was the longest
No.
one. Was
There were at least
Edge of
others just as
Tomorrow
long.
was 2 hours?
It was at least 2 hours.
I'm gonna have to double check that, but yeah.
I'm fairly sure.
Speed Racer was long, right?
Yes.
Or am I thinking that because there was just a lot of plot?
No, I think it was long.
Okay.
But it felt fast.
Well, it's Speed Racer. It has to be fast. Speaking of Speed Racer, we have elements of that in this one. On a number of different levels, actually. I almost want to bring back more than you'd expect. How close is this to Speed Racer? More than you'd expect. Heavy CGI world. You got, like, a racing thing that's overly violent for some reason. What else? Evil corporations doing bad things to people. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
number of similarities here.
I honestly forgot about the racing bit. We had not watched this again in prep.
No.
Oh,
I-
okay.
It's not really a race. It's more of a extreme version of roller derby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should get into the plot. So,
Hold
weirdly
up,
enough, what's up?
about Motorball.
Yeah.
So I had to watch Rollerball, which is a 70s
Oh, is that the
movie.
one
I
with
had to
James
watch-
Caan?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look that up.
These names mean nothing to me. I had to watch that for class about like 50 times and write a 30-page paper on it. So I'm kind of sick of that movie, but I was able to sit through this movie, and half of it's about like a very similar sport to rollerball.
Yeah, that was a James Caan movie from back in the day. Off topic. Doesn't matter to me. I like it. I like James Caan. He's Sonny from The Godfather, which you guys haven't seen. Except for you.
seen it.
Except for you. You're the good one.
I went to film school too.
Well, so did some other people who haven't seen the movies.
No, you
Well, I
didn't.
can't explain that.
Okay.
You were not in COPA.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I was. I was a screenwriting major.
Yeah.
You realize?
When?
The first 3 years of college.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the time that you weren't there with us?
Oh, I guess I didn't really know you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't exist back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were a figment
Yeah.
of the
Supposed to-
imagination.
Help film their script.
Huh.
I think that was
Yeah.
supposed to be my big senior year project.
Yeah, there you go. Credentials.
Damn.
Right?
So, speaking of credentials, I don't know how we transition back into this. So, Hans Landa finds a dead girl in a dumpster, or in a garbage dump, and she's a robot with a weird head, and he's like, I can put you back together, and he does, and she has amnesia. So this is Ghost in the Shell again, but somehow more entertaining. Yeah, she's Alita. She's got a new body, and I want to say a face only a mother could love, but some other people are interested in her, I guess. Yeah.
And her mom does not love her.
Well, that's not her mom. She's just using the body that was meant for the daughter of that mom. Let's get it straight now. My God, this is like, I'm like just saying that out loud. I'm like, this is an overly complicated character stuff in here for some reason. What's his name? Dr. Ito? Whoever
Yep.
Christoph Waltz is playing. He helps her out, brings her back, and she's like being his pseudo daughter thing because his real daughter is dead, and it's her discovering the world and learning all about it, and like, oh my God, everything is so bright and new and beautiful. I want to taste all the food and go play rollerball with everybody and meet this boy who, God, their relationship was absolutely nothing. It's the lowest part of the movie.
The lowest part.
Oh,
Absolutely.
hated it. Hated
What was
everything.
their
Can't just
romance?
be like that.
Yeah.
The whole concept at the beginning is a little weird. Like, my daughter died, so I'm gonna build another one.
It reminded me of Pinocchio.
Yeah. It's
Full
very
of
much a
robots.
Pinocchio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
Astro Boy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a Pinocchio too when you think about it.
Right.
Except, superpowers.
Is she a Powerpuff Girl?
A little bit.
Is Powerpuff Girls Pinocchio? Yeah, it kind of is Pinocchio as well.
Lots of Pinocchio stories.
Damn.
But
Either
less-
way, their romance
I don't think
and the love
Professor
interest
Utonium
of it.
had the dead kid he was replacing.
No, but
I mean,
Geppetto
kind of
didn't
Mojo
technically have a
Jojo.
dead kid. He just wanted a kid and couldn't have one.
Close enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Powerpuff Girl
Where's the
works.
whale?
They're
That's the
bug-eyed.
thing. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Look, the
Use the
similarities to
fourth
other
Powerpuff Girl.
the similarities to a bunch of other properties that this has nothing to do with is uncanny. Anyway, yeah, she's living life, doing stuff, and there are people stealing cybernetic parts from people, and like, I'm really trying to I want to condense this plot, but I can't because it's like
It's
a
like
lot
Repo,
happens.
the genetic opera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to bring in more IPs, but
Hey, it's on the list. It's okay.
Why?
This
Why did they want that guy to be so powered up? Like, what did other people losing do for them?
who big Juggernaut guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he needed more parts so he could take down Alita because she has the super parts that they want for super stuff. If you have the best
Oh,
parts,
right,
you get
right.
to do the most stuff. So, yeah, there's Mahershala Ali's in this and Jennifer Connelly, and they're running the underground cybernetic part black market and rigging the roller motorball matches. I'm gonna go with that.
matches.
And yeah, they're basically trying to control the Iron City, which I just okay, you named it after a beer. That's cool. I enjoy that. But yeah, everyone wants to get up to Zalem, the magic heaven place in the sky, which this is not the first time I've seen that. We mentioned Blue Sky last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually almost getting a little bit of Ergo Proxy vibes whenever we were watching this, but
Similar world.
yeah, it's just one of those things where all the rich people live up here and all the poor people live over here. You could even make Hunger Games references. Actually,
Final
Hunger
Fantasy,
Games, because especially the only way to get up to the top place is if you win the big competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little only very slightly reminded of Final Fantasy VII. It's not like a plate over top of the city,
But
but
similar.
similar vibes.
Haven't played it, don't know yet. Just know Tifa's hot, and there was porn of her in at the Italian Prime Minister's thing or whatever.
You know more than that.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe I just like porn. Okay,
That's
so
as far as I know.
I think it was Parliament, not the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
No,
it
the
was
Prime
Parliament.
Minister was married to a porn star, I think. Or was that France? Some Prime Minister in some country, Google it, was married to a porn star.
Good for him, I guess.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I'm gonna Google it.
Moving up in the world a little bit. Maybe. I mean, I don't know what country it is. Maybe you were. Maybe it was like more of a side thing. Maybe it was like a side switch thing. We're getting off topic again. But I think it's easy to get off topic. This plot gets off topic a lot because there's so many different things happening. She wants to be a bounty hunter, but she also wants to play motorball. And it's like, I'm getting Korra vibes a little bit because it's like, you got to do like 50 different things. And you only have 12 episodes here or a 2-hour movie. And it's a lot. Also, you're trying to have again, with Korra, you have a romance that does not work. Like for your first season. Oh my god, we're like, this is an amalgamation of like every other property. She needs to get a cute girlfriend. You know,
that might help.
What's her face
Helped
from?
Korra.
What's her face from? What was it? That Netflix thing?
Who?
What's her face from that thing?
Yeah, that
the only other girl in this movie who's not Jennifer Connelly. She doesn't have a name.
I don't remember. Oh wait, the
Netflix thing.
All the boys I've loved.
Yes,
once.
whatever. Yeah, the girl with that
yeah,
thing
she
from
was
Netflix.
That girl, yeah.
So that, you know what? She's got enough clout. Whenever they get the sequel, maybe she can be the girlfriend. She'll be the Asami. I don't know that she actually has a character in this movie other than having like complicated pigtails.
There was nothing there.
But hey, you know what that means? A lot of room to make whatever you want. I mean, could it be any worse than this guy
No.
and her? I don't mean to keep bringing it back. But they are nothing. It's like every cliche.
He had no character.
No, they have no. You know, the whole point of their relationship is to further introduce plot points.
He was a tour guide.
He was a lamp.
He was a lamp.
By the end of this, he's just a lamp.
From what I heard, I saw a review of the movie, and from what I heard, he was a lot more complex in the manga than the original OVA.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah, I would really hope.
Because I hear, like, his death... Spoiler alert, he dies at the end of the movie. Like, I hear his death...
I said he was a lamp.
I heard his death in the manga and the OVA was, like, really tragic. Like, it was like a... Like, it was presented a lot more emotionally than it was at the end of the movie.
I mean, all you have to do...
I feel like they tried to make it tragic.
Oh no, they tried. It's just you don't have a whole lot of time to get attached.
I'm gonna say this. I think his overall death scene, on paper, works. I think it works for what he was trying to do as a character, because he did have a motivation. It just wasn't very interesting to us. And, like, the scene and the overall, like, the whole thing of it, I think it works on paper. But when you execute it, we had no emotional attachment to him or to their relationship, so it falls flat.
And yet, it felt like they spent so much time on this relationship, but there was just nothing there.
Because the whole time, all they were doing was he, like, takes her somewhere to introduce yet another plot point.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the hunters. And that's
You're right.
that's the guy from Deadpool with a sword and a robot body. Oh, what's this over here? This is Motorball. What's this? This is chocolate. You're right, he's a tour guide and then turns into a lamp. It's...
Yeah.
But in 3 days, we're ready to I will give you my heart.
She literally gave him the heart.
I
cracked up. You
hated
paused the movie.
I paused this movie a couple times just to, like, be like, did they really say that?
So, I've heard, like, that, and also people say that the plot line is kind of choppy and oddly paced and doesn't really seem to be doing much. And I think, like, both of those, like, her relationship and the plot line, I think it's because she is the plot. I think, like, there's not an external story here. The movie is about, like, her. And so his death scene, I didn't really care about him dying, but
yeah,
I felt
we lost the tour guide.
I felt heartbroken for her, though, because she tried, she was the strongest she could be, and she was out of options, and she just, like, had to let him go.
I mean, she didn't have to.
Yeah, I agree.
Didn't he make that call?
Yeah.
Yeah, he let go.
Can I...
Because the joints were falling apart.
Are we going to cover the plot anymore, or should we just cut to the end with this? I mean, there's, like...
we get the plot.
There's the usual stuff you can kind of predict.
There isn't really a lot of plot.
Like, yeah, it's a little predictable in a lot of ways. Like, oh, the corporate guy... Obviously, the boyfriend is also working for the corporate guy.
Yeah, that was obvious.
Yeah.
Saw that coming from, like, before we even watched the movie,
and
I think.
I knew he'd die very quickly.
Yeah. Well, not quickly. He dies at the end.
No, but I knew very quickly
sort of
that
died,
he would die.
Yeah. Okay.
Dad was actually like a super badass bounty hunter.
The dad was
It's-
my
I liked
favorite
him.
part. I liked
It's
him.
Christoph Waltz. I think it's just one of those things where like you sometimes have that one actor who is like putting in enough effort to elevate himself above the material.
I thought his character was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Dr. Ito. I think he was my favorite part of this movie.
Maybe the movie should have been about him.
I think I'd really like it if it was about him.
Oh, there you go.
That's the part that really gave me Repo vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That'll do it.
Oh, Dad's sneaking out. This
Um,
is Repo if Shiloh wasn't such a little bitch.
Mm.
Okay. Trying to think here. Yeah. Mahershala Ali running things, pulling the boyfriend. Have I missed anything? They want to lead his
Oh.
stuff.
Should we cover the Mars plot?
Right. 300 years ago, Mars invaded, though they don't go into any of the lore of whether these are Martians or whether these are humans that colonized Mars and then became their own government and then came back.
Yeah.
It's my thoughts on this and the whole, like, you know, why does Alita look the way she does? Okay, she's a Martian, but like she still looks pretty human. It's not like, you know, I know there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret alien species and stuff. You don't always have to go like giant green head kind of thing. But my thoughts are, because I don't know what the exact year this is like the 2500s or something.
Yes.
So my thoughts are humans colonize Mars, maybe sometime in like the late 21st century or something.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually break away from Earth and its like governments, nations, all that sort of stuff. Become their own thing, become a technocracy kind of thing, really push themselves on the whole technology thing. And then they come back to invade in the 23rd century?
Yeah. Because
Yes,
it's 300
23rd.
years.
Yeah, 23rd century. After, you know, Earth's been, like, turned into nothing but the floating disk places. War happens, crazy, blah, blah, blah. What was the name of the city? It's a Z. I just lost it.
Zalem
is the last bastion, blah, 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 and, you know, the invasion fails, whatever, yada, yada. She's 300 years old, but, like, they might have evolved on Mars. Humans on Mars could have, over the 200 years they've been there, maybe evolved, like...
No.
Why not?
No, they could not have.
Hey, I'm just saying, there's less gravity on Mars. It could really affect how the body shapes itself, stuff like that. I don't know how you get big eyes and whatnot, but, like, you never know.
Like, the thing is, like, a lot of that's all due to, like, external environment, but you're gonna need, like, a lot of generations in order for those changes to take place.
How many generations are in, like, 200 years?
Like, about 8. Give
Yeah,
or take.
it's not that many.
Not
No.
that many.
It takes a long time for evolutionary changes to happen, which is why it takes, like, millions of years for, like, species to die out.
What
and, like, new ones to take their places and for them to adapt and things. So, like, it took hundreds of thousands of years for humans to get to where they are now.
I hear you.
Think
What-
of it
Okay.
that way.
What
Granted,
if,
like,
though-
a change in the environment could definitely, like, speed up the process, but only a little bit.
Okay.
Not that fast.
So maybe that speeds up the process a little bit.
So-
You know what else might speed up the process?
Inbreeding.
Genetic engineering from the society that it is big on technology and its applications. I'm
my
not going to
whole
go with
thing
that.
is,
I'm going to
like,
completely
I
ignore
don't-
whatever Cece just said.
That's not even, like, her actual body, though.
Okay,
That's the thing.
that could be the other thing. Maybe they were just like aesthetically, hey, we're really into anime on Mars. Let's make real anime girls.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, this is Ghost in the Shell. I forgot about that for a second. Huh.
Yes, Cece?
I said inbreeding.
Yeah, and I chose to ignore that. Why'd you bring it up again?
Oh, so we're bringing Old Boy into this.
No.
God,
No.
it connects to
No.
everything. Did anyone's head explode?
No.
It was supposed to, but they did it off screen.
E.
Fist of the North Star.
no. Oh, no.
They
I just
showed it in the
remembered
manga
something-
and it's graphic. But in the movie, they did it off screen.
Somebody was in a
Yikes.
meat
It's
grinder.
supposed to be the big guys.
That's true.
I think so.
Yeah.
Trying to
Ooh,
think.
I just-
You know, you're switching body parts and stuff. We can get some Guyver stuff in there with your super body thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, that was what that shell was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Her last body was like a super suit.
Yep.
I feel like we're done with plot. We can just
The
like go into the
guy.
nitty gritty of like stuff. Like I'll say the stuff that I liked about this. I actually thought for the most part the action was pretty good and well choreographed. You have a couple
Yes.
moments of like CGI clusterfuckery. There's no way to avoid it sometimes with heavy CG movies, but I think for the most part I could tell what was going on. It was like, you know, it wasn't all in like extreme close up and like doing that shaky cam stuff. There are like some really good shots in here of like the robot fights. And especially with the robots, all of them look different. No one has like, there's no standard model robot or cyborg or anything else here. And I think it was nice to see all the different unique ways that they could like put people together or change up stuff. And I thought that was a nice creative element that they added.
Oh, I think speaking of the action sequences, should we talk about the martial arts style that's like, you know, specific
Panzerkunst?
to what Alita is? Yeah.
I like that name. I don't know what it is
I
about
mean,
just
it's a
weird
cool
German
name.
words.
And I
Think-
thought
what
it was
is-
like cool to watch.
I think it was
except for,
just
like,
the way that Christoph Waltz says it with his accent.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
A little bit.
You know Panzerkunst. I'm like, okay, Hans Landa.
I thought it was, you know, pretty cool to watch for the most part. I was a little thrown when she started like doing the punching sequences because I'm like, that's not how you punch, but okay,
Where were you at like
I'll
the
let
rapid
it
fire punch thing?
go. Yeah,
That's Wing Chun.
it's a-
That's an actual thing.
Okay, because I'm like, I'm so used to like the turning of the fist motion that for me it just looked very strange to see it just like all done without like turning.
Yeah. Yeah. So Panzerkunst translated from German means literally just tank art. Tank art.
Yeah.
So it's literally just I am a tank and I am using martial arts.
I mean, that's
It
just kind of the
works.
thing. They're literally like humanoid tanks, more or less.
Yep.
It was video game logic.
Oh god, it's Tank Girl. This connects to everything.
I
They
do
didn't say
have a
it
That's a
question
weird movie.
because we didn't rewatch this recently. The mom,
Yes. Jennifer Connelly.
she was trying to return to Zoloft,
Yeah.
whatever.
Zoloft.
Zoloft, yeah. Wasn't like her whole turning point that they were gonna take her brain and not her?
No,
Am
that's
I
just like a
making that up?
consequence at the end. I think her turning point to becoming the good guy or whatever was when she saw the boyfriend dying, and Alita wasn't like she was trying to save him, and she's like, I just remembered how to be a mom, and then she's like, then she leaves, and she's like, well, I'm out, and Mahershala Ali's is like, you're not out, and it's like, yes, I'm out, and she's like, well, why don't I take you up to Zalem? And then we find out, the only way to get to Zalem is by, like, you know, organs, get brain ripped out and everything else. Because Ed Norton needs experiment material. Why was Ed Norton in this movie?
Because they were baiting a sequel and he was going to be in it.
I know, but still, it's like, I did not expect them to actually show his face in any way. I thought this was just going to be a Puppet Master thing, yet another thing from Ghost in the Shell, and it was going to be like... Because here's the thing, what if you can't get Ed Norton back for the sequel?
Well, they were obviously planning to.
Okay, well,
Yeah, like what if he pulls another Hulk?
yeah.
Well, I mean, look what happened with Terrence Howard and Iron Man. He
That too.
replaced. He got replaced by Don Cheadle, and Don Cheadle's been it ever since.
That's fair. They could have replaced him if they couldn't get him.
Yeah. I think Marvel did want to keep Ed Norton, but he was difficult to work with, and that's kind of the problem with having him for sequels.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Whatever. This might never get a sequel anyway. I don't know how well it did at the box office.
It's been a while at this point.
It's
Well, here's the thing.
not
It came out in 2019, and the year afterward, everything shut down. So whether or not there's going to be a sequel, it was going to be delayed no matter what.
I heard that
Yeah.
it did okay at the box office, but it didn't
Okay,
probably get
that's
enough to. It probably didn't do enough for whoever owns the rights to want to greenlight a sequel. I know it's
No,
gaining
that's
a
fair.
I know it's gaining a following, and I know Rodriguez and Cameron want fans to like do campaigns to push for a sequel. I mean, it worked for the Snyder Cut, so I guess anything's possible.
But
So,
that
I'm
was a
looking
movie
at-
that was already made, and they just had to re-edit it. Versus you have to
So-
make a whole separate one. I feel like that's going to take them a
Yeah,
while
it's
to
a
get
lot
that
more.
campaign to have real steam.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. That it says, and I quote, in April 2020, Christoph Waltz stated that he had not heard any discussions about potential sequel to the film and thought the possibility was unlikely following Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox, as it
that'll
may
do
not
it.
fit with the Disney culture. However, in January 2021, the director, Robert Rodriguez, said that he was hoping that a sequel to the film would be made. Later on, during an interview with The Nerdy Basement, Rodriguez claimed that he would try pitching an Alita sequel if the Book of Boba Fett series, directed by him, succeeded in knocking people's socks off.
It was okay.
I don't
I
know if
mean,
that knocks socks
Definitely
off.
was
didn't knock
more
my
like-
socks off.
It was kind of a backdoor, like, third season of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Almost. It's Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that show. I'll go on a tangent for over an hour, so we'll just yeah.
Save it for
don't-
later.
I don't know if they chose a very good source material to try to adapt like this if they wanted to follow the complete series.
I mean, apparently,
like-
apparently James Cameron has been trying to do an Alita movie since the 90s, and Robert Rodriguez is a
Yeah.
big fan of the manga as well, so it's not like it was a bad team up. You can say whatever you want about James Cameron,
Yeah,
but
I feel like the following is pretty niche.
Yeah.
And the style is very off-putting for people who aren't gonna be familiar with, like, animation, like, blowing eyes up like that.
Yeah. I mean, mostly Alita. The rest of the movie looks pretty okay for the most part.
Yeah, I
You
had no
get-
problems with anyone else. It's just the fact that they adjusted her face like that.
Yeah.
Like, her body looked fine.
Yeah. It is weird.
And it just made me feel less connected to it. It's like, I think
Yeah,
she
so
seemed wooden because of it.
Oh, extremely. Like,
presenting that to, like, a Western audience, I don't know how much they were ever really gonna get steam going behind that.
I think they would have done really better had they just, like, had the actress.
Yeah.
Because she was on set. I'm pretty sure this is, like, a motion capture thing that
Right,
they're
she
doing.
was there the whole time.
Maybe don't put the dots on her face and just put her, like, in the
In the
ping
suit,
pong ball
yeah.
suit and just, like, adjust the body like you did for Deadpool guy at Scream. That's his name, right? Ajax.
Yeah.
Francis, that's his name.
Francis.
Francis with his metal, like, soul patch.
Right.
He was fun. I'm not gonna knock him. He was fun. Yeah, I think had they just had the actress just do it and not adjust her face and just, like, add the robo exo suity looking thing to it after the fact, I think that probably would have worked better for them, and it probably would have maybe not put, first off, wouldn't have put as many people off from the marketing, and I think her performances probably just would have been better, because you're right,
Right.
she's very, like,
She'd be able to emote.
part of it is, like, I know
Yeah.
that they're trying to make the face emote, but it's not matching one-to-one with everything, and I think on top of that, I don't know if it's also an ADR thing or something, she has the same tone throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like
that's the thing, though. She's not supposed to have, like, a very wide range of emotions.
but I feel like
like,
she
the whole
does.
thing-
I mean,
It's supposed to be, like, portraying her becoming more human.
I don't get the
I
sense
don't
that,
get that at
she's
all.
like she's like the girl from, like, the Major. I don't get that at all.
Yeah,
I get that
no.
she's like, she has strong emotions.
yeah, she's like a kid. She's like a
Yeah.
child experiencing the world for the first time, and she's excited throughout a lot of the movie. Like,
She does
"Look at
not
this."
seem emotionless,
Yeah.
but I think the capture makes her feel emotional.
You know what she is? She's Jack Skellington. What's this? What's
Yeah,
this?
it's like she's curious. She has, like, these expressions, but it's not coming through
the
the computer animation.
expressions don't quite work. They're not as nuanced as maybe they should be. Not as much as like a human face
I
could
think
be.
it's the comparison, because I think if the whole thing was computer animated, I would feel like she is expressive.
Yeah.
But it's because
Yeah.
she's amongst real people that she feels off.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's like, everyone remembers Until Dawn, yes?
Yeah, the game
You remember
with
the motion
yeah.
capture with those faces with the game, and how the expressions were really not always the best?
A little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But when did that
the
come
thing is
out?
like, I kind of let it go a little bit, mostly just because I kept that in mind.
2016, I want to say, to answer your
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So probably similar, yeah.
I mean, Man of Medan and like all their other anthology games came out a bit later, so it got a bit better, but still, it is a work in progress.
and I get that.
For sure.
You know, like nothing's gonna be perfect for sure. Like at a certain point, you just kind of, it's like Speed Racer for me was a lot of this movie. Like at a certain point, I just got very used to the full CGI world kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna disagree. They actually have the technology already. Like, if you look at a game like Beyond Two Souls,
yeah, I haven't played that one.
they use
I mean, I
motion
guess,
capture
like-
for everything, and they
I mean,
still...
I guess I'm like comparing like now to 2019.
Yeah.
Thinking of
and,
it in that context.
I mean, 2019 was not super long ago. It was only 3 years. You know,
No, but it's
whether
still,
or not you're making
you
like,
can make
big leaps.
advancements with like motion capture like pretty quickly within a couple of years. I mean, like, compare games that came out like 2019 to games that came out this past year. Do they look better?
I don't know.
Probably.
Part of it is, though, I think they just weren't sure what they were doing as far as like translating her performance, and I think that's where the problem is, because like that, or I don't know, maybe she just wasn't that, like they just didn't know what to work with on set, because I'm sure they're taking her facial expressions and translating them to the computer and then, you know, Instagram filtering it into something really weird, but like
Maybe they just didn't have a great team of animators for her.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, again, I think, like, whenever they're getting to, like, the fight choreography and, like, a lot of the other stuff, I think it works, and it works very well, but, like, maybe they just weren't as competent with facial expressions, and part of that is also going to affect, like, how she sounds overall.
And I think, once again, like, with these other things, like, Beyond Two Souls, it's like, we're not comparing, like, fully real people and motion captured people. They're all motion captured.
Yeah.
So I think like it doesn't come off as weird. I think it's because she's in a world of normal people. Like I feel like if she was in a world of not normal people, I wouldn't think it looks weird, you know?
Yeah, and it's not like you get away with it like you do in like Roger Rabbit, where every cartoon character is supposed to look insane and kind of weird in contrast, because the contrast kind of helps.
There's also
with that.
not Uncanny Valley and stuff with stuff like
That's what I'm
Roger
saying.
Rabbit.
You're running into Uncanny
Yeah,
Valley,
yeah.
but when you go the opposite end, you're fine with it.
Right, it doesn't look strange, you know, or off-putting.
Yeah. Couldn't leap the valley.
Like, I
seems to be the
get,
main
like,
thing.
making her look a little different because of the Martian thing, but I almost feel like maybe they could have translated that in a different way, like, just use some kind of makeup or, like, something that would make her look a little different, but, like, not weird looking, you know?
Yeah.
Give her a bigger forehead.
Something like that, yeah, like, just slightly
just, you know,
different.
bring the hairline back a
But
little
I
bit.
feel like nobody mentioned, oh, she looks weird or anything like that, so it was almost like we were supposed to think she looks normal. I don't know.
And yet no one else other than
Whoa.
Juggernaut Dude looks like their head's been adjusted.
Right, like, nobody looks weird like her, but everybody, like, doesn't point it out or think it's weird.
I mean, it's probably rude in a world where, like, people constantly have to switch out their body parts to be like, yeah, your body part looks a little weird.
It's not her, it's her face, though.
Your face is
Her
bad.
face is weird.
Yeah, but it's not like her face is skin. Like, that's still, like, a cybernetic skull, I think.
I guess since you can, like, you can make a new face and stuff, I guess that's true. Like, maybe people just thought she wanted her face like that or something.
I think I would have been fine with that idea, but no one else has done that.
Yeah, I
Other
don't
than
know.
super big monster Juggernaut Man, but he's supposed to look like a monster.
Maybe they're all doing it on Zalem.
That would need to be explained.
I'm genuinely wondering like how many people are like. Had we not found out that other people came from Zom, I really would have thought Ed Norton was the only person up there.
Yeah.
Because like, wouldn't that be the thing? Like you get up there and you're like, it's gonna be amazing. It's deserted except for the one
Just
asshole.
Ed Norton.
I killed them all because I was sick of them, and now I'm experimenting. I'm God. That definitely seems like something that would be up his alley.
Yeah.
What was their explanation for Dr. Ito and his wife having to go down to AYoN City for their daughter being sick? Were they just supposed to let her die?
I
No.
think that it's like, you know, everything has to be perfect up here, and you can't have any sort of deviation or something. And it's like, oh, sick person, deviation, get out. That's my thought. They don't give us enough information about Zalem, despite the fact we have at least 2 characters who have been there before. Like, it's just the magical upper place that no one is allowed to go. I guess they all have purple dots?
Yeah.
Did Ed Norton have a purple dot? I did not look at him long enough to figure it out.
I don't remember.
Whatever. What else?
This movie, I know there was some stuff that CC mentioned that was cut from the manga, but like, this movie was pretty graphic for a PG-13 movie. Like, you see people being decapitated, you see like blood and all shit, but it's okay. It's green or purple, so it's safe.
It's blue.
They kill a dog.
Dude,
Yeah, that honestly was the thing that made me the most upset in this movie.
Dude, I
think.
knew it was coming as soon as that dog started barking, but I was like, oh, dude, why'd you have to kill the puppy? The puppy did nothing wrong.
Right.
Yeah, you sign your own death warrant when you do that kind of thing.
And then, like, all the marketing for the movie had her with, like, the blood, and you're thinking, oh, she's honoring a fallen comrade. And in a way, she is.
She absolutely is. Let's be real here. I don't mean to keep shitting on the boyfriend. I had more of an emotional connection to the dog who was there for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
How traumatizing do you think it is, though, to, like, decapitate your own boyfriend with no guarantee you're gonna be able to hook his brain up to your heart quick enough?
I don't know. She knew the guy for 3 days. How does Disney not like this premise?
That whole scene in the alleyway, that was so unsterile.
Yeah. I don't know.
They were in a warehouse, weren't they?
They were in a warehouse. Maybe like an old church? Something like that. I think it was an old church.
It was dirty. It was not clean.
What did he even do to get the hit put on him?
Oh,
Francis faked his own. Francis did a murder and blamed it on the guy.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali, he, like, heard that, like, oh, he doesn't want to do the work for me anymore? Cool, we're going to take him out. We just have to get, like, you know, pretense for it. And, you know, yeah, Francis will provide. So, it was a hit under the pretense of the law.
I mean, it was a very clever way of getting around the law that she found.
Oh, yeah. That was good. Like, it's like there's parts of this where I'm like, okay, you have a good amount of world building. Like, I understand there's no police here, so you kind of have to have things go through these Ed 209 things and the Hunter Warriors, which is kind of a dumb name, if I'm thinking a little redundant. I was kind of hoping they would come up with some better names for that kind of thing, but yeah, you have like some stuff like that, and then certain like laws. We don't know all the laws of being a hunter or doing all this sort of stuff, but like you do get some of this stuff, and then other stuff you just have no explanation. You're kind of left wondering like, okay, why is it like this? Why are you not explaining this? Why haven't all the factory workers who are supplying Zalem not realized that as soon as they cut off Zalem, they can go up to Zalem because Zalem has nothing at that point? We're never going to seize the means of production. I get it. But I think ultimately I came out of this like, I want to read the source material.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Like, if they have some OVAs or something, like, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that.
There was like an OVA in, I think, 1993. I want to say that was like an hour or something like that. But from what I heard, from what I heard, it was a lot more. Strangely enough, I heard it was a lot more violent and graphic than this movie.
See, I could see with the the cybernetics and the robotic elements of this, and, you know, the superhuman abilities in that, I could see this being a far more violent thing than what we saw. We saw the PG-13 version of this. Like, I think there's definitely a version of this where we watch the dog die. Or a number of other, like, far more gruesome things could happen.
Also, probably see more violence towards more human-looking characters.
Like,
I feel like a lot of the deaths were aimed at people who were heavily augmented.
Yeah. The less human people.
Yeah, it was kind of disconnected.
Like, I think this kind of goes a little bit of the way of, like, the early Samurai Jack seasons. Like, I don't know if you guys watched those or not, but it's an extremely violent show. However, he never, like, attacks or kills any, like, organic people, or at the very least doesn't, like, cut them up into, but he's generally just, like, cutting up robots and stuff, and they explode. There's no, like, blood or anything until you get to the season 5, which had way less censorship. But I think that's kind of how they were getting around that, is like, okay, we kill other robots, that's not, like, violence. It's violent, but it's not, like, eviscerating a human being violent. Like we could probably have seen had this been done for, like, an R rating or something like that.
Yeah, like her boyfriend. Like, he's only ripping out that guy's spine, but, you know, it was a robot spine.
Yeah, you're not seeing blood and gore. You're seeing wires and sparks go off. So it's like, whatever. I've seen a computer ripped apart before.
I heard that the movie is toned down from the anime, and the anime is toned down from the manga. So
that does
if
nothing
you read the
but
manga, that's
make me want to read it
full
more.
Violence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be interesting. I'm trying to think. You guys have any other, like, what other things to talk about on this that you wanted to bring up?
I really liked their scenery, like the settings. Like, I feel like they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, like, what was kind of nice, because it's kind of like the future thing, and we kind of saw that last week with Ghost in the Shell. I like that it's not just covered in extra hologram advertisements. I know that realistically, if the future involves hologram technology and advertising stuff, I guarantee you it's going to look exactly like that, and I'm going to hate it. But
I think it looks cool. You don't like the Blade Runner aesthetic?
It's nice for, like, 5 minutes, I guess.
Oh, I love it.
But, like...
But you can't do it in every movie.
Real quick.
Yeah, it gets too samey.
Yeah, like, you have to, like, change it up. Like, there has to be a different sci-fi world or different sci-fi city.
Yeah, and this is the different sci-fi city, where it's like, you know, it's crumbling, but it's still kind of thriving in a way.
And it's
nice.
Still really beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
the scene where she first stepped out, she looked up, and I think there was, like, a bird or something flying around. Like, it was really pretty.
Yeah. It actually kind of reminds me, like, Rome, whenever, like, after the Roman Empire fell and, like, the infrastructure started crumbling, like, all the architecture and everything is still there, and some stuff is in disrepair and whatnot, but, like, it's still all there, and it's still utilized, and it's still usable, and it's kind of like, feels a little bit the same way, like, they had this big civilization, and then it kind of fell apart, and it kind of rebuilt itself upon the ruins of the old world a little bit, and you can still kind of see the beauty of the old world kind of peeking through still, even though it's kind of gone.
Kind of like humans are little cockroaches.
We are.
Fuck up their nest and, like, they just work around it.
Oh, that works on a lot of levels.
Another big complaint I hear a lot about this movie is that, she's too OP, and the fights don't really have enough, weight for her to make it interesting. She's not really risking anything.
I mean, she is
Didn't
OP.
she get disassembled in one of the fights?
She did, absolutely.
For sure.
I was thinking, like, that one had some stakes.
She's probably a little OP after she gets her super body, but,
Oh, yeah.
like, that's set up for the sequel. Like, how long does she have the super body? It's for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's towards the
Yeah,
end.
like maybe
Yeah.
about the last half hour of the movie.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's definitely like your third act. I've come back to take down the bad guys kind of thing. I think that's absolutely where you're supposed to get OP at.
Absolutely. But like the scene in the bar, which was
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that was
Like,
fun.
She's
That was
just
fun.
like flick them off the table. I'm like, no, it was great because like I think it works because she's so like empathetic.
Yeah. That's the
like-
scene that they're saying she's too OP, because that's literally the scene right before she gets torn apart by some dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
she was
She's
she was trained, I guess, from birth or whatever to be a like elite of the elite for that Martian army. It's just that she
Yeah.
just got her whenever she got her memory back, she just got her muscle memory back from all her training.
I feel like she like having that a little bit beforehand though. Like it is instinctual for her to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, I think the thing is, like, if you're that strong, it just raises the stakes next time.
exactly. So the next movie, like, there would just have to be a more powerful villain. But I never felt like she was too OP.
No, she's strong. Yes, she's very naturally gifted, like probably more than the average person.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, she's not like insta good. She has to work towards it a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. And I mean, the thing is like, given like the context for her character, she has like a mechanical body.
Mhm.
You would expect her to be able to take a lot more than the average person.
Oh, absolutely. Plus the nuclear core or whatever, like antimatter
Mm-hmm.
engine, like you could run the whole city for like 6 years on your heart alone. I'm like, okay, so yeah, you could blow this whole fucking place up if you wanted. Like, yeah, no, I'd be interested
feel
because
like
like here's
it's
the other
been-
thing. You know, Ed Norton is trying to come up with ways to like just tear her apart, and he's got all the resources in the world. So you know, whatever they come up with next is going to be up to the task to give her a challenge. It just won't happen.
I mean,
Yes.
he also killed all those other Martians, so he has to have something up there.
Personally, like,
Well, like
that was
during the
300
during the flashback scenes when they were showing the attack
He-
on Zalem.
he did mention something about immortality. I wasn't sure whether that was like an actual thing or something, because like that was 300 years ago. I was like, I doubt he would have been born at that point. But if he was, then he's been like really working at keeping alive.
Cryo sleep.
No,
Yeah,
I,
but he
I
seems
do
to be
think
running things.
I do think he has been alive that long because the disconnecting the tube things was how they defeated them the last time.
Mm.
Disconnected? Do you mean the ring defense thing?
The ring
Like the-
defense, and then it started to crumble. That was how they beat them.
You beat the Martians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that could just be left over from like 300 years ago. I mean, that's a good defense, and if no one else comes along to challenge it, I mean, there's no real reason to upgrade it.
How?
Like, I don't know, like, part of it is like it's technology. It's not dependent on a singular person to be a thing. So I don't know whether he invented the ring or whether he's just using the ring now or like what the situation is like. I don't know. I think that's the big thing is like I don't know, and I don't know all the lore of this, so I need to read the thing now to see who the fuck is this dude and why is he, what was his name, Nova? Yeah, Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And like what is he immortal? What's going on?
He's the supercomputer. Bet.
But why would you want to be Ed Norton then?
Do you have something against
I'm
Ed
just
Norton?
saying that's
It just seems like a weird
Probably.
thing. Like, why be Ed Norton when you could be like a super giant robot?
if
Unless
he
Ed
has,
Norton
like,
is a super giant robot.
if he has like achieved some form of immortality, it would definitely be by just keeping his brain alive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Switch out the
But-
defective parts.
I don't know, a lot of stuff to explore with that.
Okay, so ultimate takeaway is you can't marry a man you just met.
Really? I mean, you could, but then he dies.
He chose to die. His whole
Okay.
thing was he turned into like the cyborg and then he got his legs ripped off or something. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just not worth it.
I think it wasn't worth it because he couldn't get up to where he wanted to be. But at the same time,
Yeah.
like, I'm kind of... Okay. Alita is, like, super dexterous and, like, adept at using this mechanical body. Why didn't she grab him with her legs when he started to slip out of her arm? Like, you're dangling. It's probably, like, right around that area. Just give a little, like, and just, like, you know...
She knew he wanted to die.
But, like...
Is there any point to forcing him to stay alive in that moment?
I think it was more about learning to let go of your obsessions before they consume you.
Was she obsessed with him?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It just seems a little... It just feels a little bit like Jack couldn't fit on the door kind of thing. Like, did you have to die? I don't know that you did. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that he's... It just feels...
He made the choice.
I feel like
he couldn't let go of his own obsession.
I feel like he just goes full lamp at that point.
No, Cece's right. He couldn't let go of Zalem.
He was like, I'm not going to be able to get there. I'd rather just die.
Weak. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it would have been better if he had survived. I'm not saying it would have been any better if he had survived. Maybe it's better that he's dead. He didn't have much of a character. It's just one of those, like, I'm just thinking about this too, like, analytically.
Maybe that's why his death was more impactful in the source material.
Because he had a character?
It wasn't. No, because he didn't, like, make the choice. It wasn't essentially glorified suicide. Like, maybe he actually just got murked.
Oh, maybe.
No,
I'll have to let you know when I read it.
I saw a review that compared the ending of the movie versus the ending of the OVA, and I won't spoil it, but they take his character.
Kind of are.
What?
I feel like you kind of are.
Well, no, like, it's the same exact sequence, it's just presented differently.
Okay. All right.
Like, his motivation, I should say, during
It's presented better?
I would say so from, like, the 2 minutes I heard from the review, so...
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll watch that at some point. I think if this the last couple weeks of watching these live action anime adaptations has told me anything, it's like maybe we should like watch some of the animated versions of these to see the better versions.
Yeah.
Except in this case of Speed Racer, that might be the ultimate version.
Anime. I feel like a lot of these were manga.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, we could take a look. Like, Guyver was an anime. It had an anime adaptation. So did Fist of the North Star. Mm-hmm. Speed Racer was definitely an anime at one point, as was Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Old Boy was never,
like,
but...
the actual source.
Well, here's the thing. Most anime tend to have a manga source anyway. But...
I guess, especially back in the day. I think I'm coming at it from a 2022 perspective of we do have a lot of, like, anime only.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of those don't tend to be, like, really big anyway.
You mean, like, anime originals?
Yeah, anime originals.
Okay, because when I hear anime only, I think of people who only watch the anime. Not.
You have to be so distinct about everything nowadays because it's like there's so many different layers. But yeah, I think the only things that didn't have an anime adaptation were probably just All You Need Is Kill for Edge of Tomorrow and Old Boy.
Yeah.
Everything else had an anime, including this one apparently. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we want to count it as well, Death Note, because we'll be talking about that next week as well.
True.
I guess, you know, what, at the end of it all, what's our overall impressions? I think here I'm a high meh, low yay. I'm in that kind of, I feel like part of it is like, this kind of, in a number of ways, reminded me of the Ghost in the Shell, but it was a little more entertaining. And I don't know the original source material well enough to be like, well, this is just garbage. Why did you change that? So,
I feel like your vote usually is a little contrarian to like the group vote. I feel like most of us enjoyed this one.
No, I feel similarly to him.
I didn't say I
it's, like,
didn't
meh
enjoy it.
To like, high yay maybe.
I mean, like, part of this is like, I enjoyed watching it. Am I gonna watch it again? I don't know, probably not. But
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I feel interested in the manga now, but I feel like if I had just watched this as a movie, I might not watch it again. But like I didn't have a bad time. But there were just certain things that I didn't like the romance and there was too much of it. I didn't like the CGI face, and I don't really like amnesia plots because I feel like it takes away from the character.
Yeah.
But I do like the world. I think the world's really interesting. I like the sports stuff. I thought the racing, or whatever you want to call it, was really interesting.
Motorball.
I really liked Ito. I thought he was really good. I would love to see more of his character. I liked certain aspects of Alita herself, and I liked the battle scenes and the robot designs.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like
half
mixed.
and half.
It's a little mixed. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, honestly, I am probably the only contrarian opinion here. And I have been for like the past few weeks probably because again, I am a meh. Because again, as I will state, I didn't really care one way or the other.
I mean, yeah, I'm a yay. I didn't mind the eyes, and honestly, I didn't mind the romance as much as you guys. It was just kind of cliche, like, oh, he's the secret bad guy, or not the secret bad guy, but he's working with the bad guy, and there's gonna be the liar revealed trope, and then there's gonna, all that kind of stuff, and there's the sacrifice at the end. I mean, I'll just say this: I didn't think the guy was a bad actor in the movie. I just think like his stuff wasn't that original. So
he had nothing to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I liked the action. I liked the world. I liked Alita a lot. I actually kind of disagreed with you guys a little bit when you were saying like she was having trouble emoting. I think she did pretty well for me. Maybe because I don't know. I liked the way that she acted and worked off each other. The only thing I really didn't like about the movie was just, some of the forced scenes, and then like they're clearly setting up for a sequel, which I know a lot of movies tend to do, but like unless you're part of a major blockbuster franchise, maybe you shouldn't do that. Even then, sometimes
I think they were trying.
Yeah, I mean, even sometimes in blockbuster franchises, you're not guaranteed a sequel either. So make a standalone story first, and then maybe do an end credits stinger if you want. But yeah, I liked it. I still give it a yay.
I would also give it a yay. Like, we would have watched it again if this week had not been as hectic as it is in our personal lives. Like, when we saw it in theaters, like, we really enjoyed it and did talk about going back to see it again. Just because you have to give it a few watches to pick everything up.
And that Dua Lipa song at the end, I went home and put that on my playlist immediately.
I didn't even know that was a Dua Lipa song, to tell you the truth.
Didn't register me.
But
Because
like,
I don't follow music a whole lot, so.
So for a lot of these, like, and maybe it's because I don't have a comparison to the source material, I feel like it did a really good job maintaining, like, the feel that it was originally supposed to be, like, an anime manga that was just being ported over for Western audiences. I don't know if I'm really, like, portraying what I'm trying to convey here, but, like, it still felt like an anime.
Okay. I can kind of see what you're saying there. Like, last week it felt like
it
RoboCop,
wasn't an insult to the source material like Dragon Ball Evolution.
Well,
low bar.
Very low bar.
Yeah.
But this one was far better, for sure.
And the one thing James Cameron knows is how to raise the bar. South Park reference for anyone who gets it. Anything else to talk about with this?
Not really.
Okay. Cool.
About it being like a standalone movie, I think the problem is this is a prequel. This is her backstory.
I thought her backstory was the war thing.
Yeah.
No, that's
I mean, it's one of those things where it's almost like one of those things where it's like, okay, this was her setup to her badass moment. Now her real adventures
It's like
begin.
an origin
Yeah.
story.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an origin story.
It's like
story
it's
hasn't
like
started
spoiler.
yet.
It's like spoiler alert, the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy. It's like that's the start of his Spider-Man journey.
Yeah.
All 5 of the films that he was in, 6 films that he was in.
And yet,
the MCU.
And yet, it is not his actual origin like we've seen in the other 2 franchises.
The more
Yeah.
recent one got it closer.
It's like the first 100 chapters of MHA. Oh,
Okay.
just backstory, baby.
Okay. So, we should talk about next week, because next week we are not watching a movie. Or a TV show. Or on anything, really. We're going to be reviewing everything that we've watched over these last couple weeks. Because it's episode 150, and we decided to... how are we describing this? It's like an award ceremony, I guess? For everything that we've watched. We'll be probably going through a bunch of categories with nominees and all sorts of stuff. I gotta start working on that. But yeah, we're gonna be going over, like, what were the best parts of these live-action American adaptations of anime that we watched? What were the worst ones? There'll be plenty. What were, like, some of the most unintentionally funny things? Who gave the best performances? Who gave the worst? What was the worst line? What was the best line? You know, there could be a number of different things, and, you know, I don't want to limit myself just to what the Oscars do, but, you know, who knows? It could be a number of possibilities. So come back with that. We'll be going over everything that we've watched these last couple weeks, plus Death Note, which we reviewed a very long time. Very long? Not that
Pretty long.
Pretty long time ago. So we'll be covering
Wasn't
all
it
of that
last
as
year?
well. Last year, I think. Yeah. I'm sorry. What does this say? You're calling it
Live action American anime adaptation. La.
the law. Oh wait, live action American anime adaptation awards. Law.
There you go.
So come back for more law, and we'll see you guys then. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye. By the way, Al, is next episode the end of your loop?
Yes, I'm dead.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!